I'm back building on the house today, starting with the inner walls. I will also tell some interesting news that we learned from the villagers, so please stay for a while to hear what the villagers had to say. Last week's exploration in the deep mine east of us, clearing out that huge mine shaft as well as building a long railroad down there, was very refreshing for me. Now I have lots of energy to continue my big project with the house, and of course we also need a house to work in as soon as possible. I can admit it is a tad too much to bite building a Queenslander house. I am not a professional builder, but I most often have big visions, and also most often I finish my way too big projects, no matter how difficult. In my opinion, a Queenslander would be so perfect in the environment that was pointed out for us by the villagers. A lush hill between the jungle and the savannah, and right next to the water. They said the forest was infested with dangerous creatures. It is, but nothing we can't handle. We have had worse. People before us have died in this jungle. We will make it, if I can just get this house done. I'm very determined to finish it. It will be just splendid, I hope. As you may know, a Queenslander house is a special-looking house originally found in the jungle and savannah environments. Typically, it has a veranda around almost the entire house. On my house, the veranda will go around it all. A Queenslander sits on poles, so the main floor is upstairs from the ground. In the basement there is usually a workshop, a garage for vehicles, or something similar. The living space is upstairs on the main floor. A typical Queenslander house is made of wood, usually painted in light colors. The roof is made of metal in a light color. I use the wood materials that we have in our nearest environment: jungle wood, acacia and birch. For the roof I will use sandstone, since that is the lightest colored material that is easy to find in great quantities. Currently I use an enormous amount of jungle wood planks to put up all the walls. It starts to look a little more like a house when the walls come up. The basement where I am right now will be our working area with the crafting stations, furnaces and most of what we need to craft items. Because creating items is what we do for our adventures. We will eventually have a library and a place for making magic potions, and those will probably be on the main floor upstairs. I haven't decided where the bedrooms will be just yet. Until later, we will just have beds where it is most convenient. The flooring in and around the basement will be made of brick stone. All cobblestone that we have cut have to be melted into stone in the furnace. After that, I craft the stones into brick stones in the crafting station. The brickstone floor continues outside the house under the veranda to make a nice transition to the garden. Before putting out the floor, I first have to remove the top layer of dirt to have a real flat and solid ground. On the basement level, there will be a huge map room open all the way up to the top floor. The maps that we make on our expeditions will be put on the floor so we can look at the map, either standing on top of it or looking at it from upstairs. Now you think that a map should be put on a wall. Well, we decided to have it on the floor, so we can have many more maps than is possible to have on a wall. We just love to go on exploration trips and make maps. The map room is one of the reasons to why the house will be so big. Just the big map itself will contain of 15 single maps in each direction. The floor in the map room is made of acacia wood. The structure of the acacia wood is so nice, which gave me the idea of putting the wood blocks in a fishbone pattern. Around the map room's floor, I put a border of acacia logs with the face up. On one side of the map room there will be a wall made of acacia wood. On this wall we will have a close-up map of the house and its environment. Around the acacia-floored map room there are more brickstone floors where we can walk around the entire map. And more brickstone. And even more brickstone. To reach the higher levels on the veranda, I put up scaffolding. It's made of bamboo and very fragile. Rather scary to climb, but it works and is easy to tear down when the job is done. My house has 2 rounded parts on each side in the front. I call them the towers. Round constructions are very complicated in any kind of building, since wood and stone is not very bendable. And in this world, where we currently live, everything is about cubes and squares. So I had to find some innovative solutions with these cubistic materials. I try as I go. I know I will succeed, one way or another. Oh yes, Kalam had a long meeting last week with the elder in the village. He learned a lot about the reason to their suspicion to strangers, and also a little about their history. And I will tell as you watch the rest of this week's building. The elder was very polite and started with thanking for the port that we built for them. The trade that they want to expand hasn't kicked in yet, simply because they have some other issues in the village. When we entered the village the first day in this world, they seemed friendly, but they didn't really want to have us around. They told us to find a place for our house on the other side of the river, mostly because they thought we wouldn't stay there for too long because of the danger. He told Kalam that merchants used to travel through the village in the old days when it was a flourishing center for trade. Most visitors were honest tradesmen, but at one time a big group of so-called tradesmen came there, dishonest and evil conquerors who changed everything. They promised gold and glory if they could live in the village and use the trade routes. The villagers believed them at first. Little did they know how fatal it would be welcoming these people. The evil strangers soon made the villagers feel uncomfortable. When people started protesting, they even moved most villagers to remote places. The elder didn't know where. He never saw some of his old friends and family again. The remaining villagers were used as slaves, and many became sick and died. There was no cure for the new unknown diseases. The conquerors blamed the jungle to be cursed, and that this was the cause of the sicknesses. They themselves were afraid of the jungle and never went too close to it. No children have been born in many years. Now the villagers are aging and will soon be extinct if they don't find a solution for their problems. The elder didn't go into too many details about it, but we have understood so much that the conquerors destroyed the land and moved on when there was nothing left for them to take. All this happened many years ago, and since then the villagers have tried to build up their lives to what it was before it was ruined. But if no children are born, it will soon be gone. Therefore the villagers are not so welcoming to strangers anymore. They want to be helpful and friendly, but they ask visitors to leave to the other side of the river just because they know that they will not stay there. So far no one has managed to tame the wild forest. We are the first one in all these years that stayed and actually have succeeded to keep the invasive creatures away. The elder also expressed his gratitude that we haven't completely destroyed the environment. I was a bit worried when we cut down so many trees the first days here. But they are actually grateful for that. For them it is much calmer with the less haunted forest across the river. Kalam also reassured that we will plant trees and flowers again as soon as the house is finished, and we will do our best to keep the bad creatures away. The main reason to the meeting was not to complain about the size of our house or the railroad, which I thought. They just needed to understand the reason to the railroad. The evil conquerors had some mysterious things going on down that same mine, and since then everything seemed to fall apart. The elder finished the meeting with proposing a business agreement. He wants to meet Kalam again, or both of us, and exchange some ideas for the future. He has noticed that we are able to build and craft many things, and they might have the knowledge of something that we need. That sounds rather exciting, I think, and I had to completely revise my idea of their suspicion and unwillingness to welcome us. They are just licking their wounds after being pillaged and almost destroyed by evil looters. In the next chapter we will go deeper down the mine, hoping for great adventures. We will also hear more from the villagers. That will be most exciting. What business proposal will they have for us? See you next time.